All right. So, so thanks for joining me, Jordan. We were just talking about how we both have a lot of friends that we are both wanting to refer to Jocelyn. But I want to know how you got started doing your work with her, and how long ago was that?
Not too long ago. What are we now? Almost September. So it's been almost a bit more than 2 months. I I was just in the midst of a separation with my now fiance, and
Okay, there's a story there. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
yeah, and I was just looking for a bit of guidance. So I asked somebody in town that does like different modalities of energy and intuition work. And really my exposure to all of this was very limited. I came with an open mind. I had energy work done on me once, didn't really feel any different. You know, it was I didn't think, oh, I wasted my money. I was just like, well, maybe I just don't have awareness around this. So but anyway, I asked her, I'm like, look, do you know a psychic? Or because I was really just like, I just need some clarity. And this woman that she referred me to, in our session, she said all kinds of great things, but one of them was like, you got to work with Jocelyn. She's like, just going to go to town on you. It'd be like an F1 car, like pulling in and having your wheels change. It'd be boo, 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 all these drills. Anyway, she's like, you'll feel great after, maybe. And but you got to go see her. So I booked a sent, was just like, well, it's affordable and I really don't feel like I have much to lose. And went through a separation that weekend. My fiance and I, we'd broken up. And I had my session with Jocelyn and immediately felt like lightness, and was like my access to joy in the midst of grieving was just like, oh, okay, I got some space right now. um, and when I had met with my then ex-partner for like, just a tea and just check in and see how she's doing, because we both loved each other very much then. She could see the difference in me, and I was just kind of holding things lightly and was having, doing some of the subconscious work as well, like limiting beliefs with Jocelyn. Was just kind of shifting my like trust towards the universe and how things are all going to work out. And so my then ex-partner was noticed that change in me, but also noticed the change in her. And like we both did our self-work in different ways and just kind of came together. And so I'd done 4 sessions or so with Jocelyn to remove my heart wall. And it just, yeah, just been carrying that lightness everywhere. My friends have noticed the difference. I'm part of or was part of a men's group. I don't really feel like I need their support anymore because I'm doing my own work. I'm not carrying all this with me all the time. So, but before leaving, I was like, guys, like, here's my testimonial. Like, like this is what it was for me. And so, like, I wish the same thing for all of you. So
And what did they say? I'm curious. What did this group of men say?
well, different reactions. Like one of them's like, I don't know if I'm buying all this hippy dippy shit.
Yeah.
Like big bouncer, Harley Davidson style dude.
Yeah.
Other friend of mine, like who's talked to me about like, sound baths, like different, he's like shared with me different modalities of healing we do, different practitioners do here in Whitehorse. He was open to actually booking a session with Jocelyn, for a different friend of mine, also from the group. Since then, like I've been like, I picked up the book on emotion code and was like, huh, I could kind of mess around with this, I could learn how to do this. And I've been practicing on my family and close friends.
Ah, I did not know that. Wow. So it sounds like you have a lot to credit this experience with Jocelyn for,
Dude,
right?
I mean, some of my friends, they're cheap, right? So
Yeah,
they're like, even though Jocelyn is very affordable,
sure.
like, and she's the pro. And that's what I tell them. I'm like, you should go with the pro. But, like if you're open to it, like, I love you and I want to help you. And so just, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And so, my I've done some work on my mom and my partner's kids and our dogs and my dad's dog. And
Really? And what do you notice in them, or what do they notice in themselves? Not that the dogs can tell you, but what do you observe?
well, like Jocelyn had worked on our kids, um, uh, my now fiance, um, and we've noticed right away, like they're like their bedwetting incidents went down. They stopped having nightmares. Like one of them was just like I don't have dreams, and all of a sudden was like starting to have dreams. So it just seemed like for them, they're just being more themselves, and we're seeing less of like some of the baggage that they bring with them, that they've acquired over the years. Very short few years,
Yeah.
um, but one of my friends that I've been practicing with, like he's someone that carries a lot with him. Like if he has a bad day, it feels like he can't shake it,
Mhm.
or just a demanding day. And he shared with me like, yeah, since doing this form of like energy, emotion release, it's been like describing that lightness, like not having some conflict define the rest of his day, so stuff doesn't stick. He described it like it's like he's like got a Teflon jacket or something, like things will hit him that it'll fall off and won't stick, right? And
Wow. Oh my
so
gosh. And so I'm really interested in what your now fiance, which is so exciting and so cool, what she thought about this. I mean, she said she noticed you were lighter. Like, what can you get a little, without getting too personal? I don't want to intrude, but can you talk a little bit about what specific differences she saw and what you felt in terms of your relationship?
hmm. Well, one of the reasons she said that she wanted to break up with me, was that I was carrying my shit, like
Mhm.
shadow, whatever you want to call it, just like, my hangups, my unconscious, like, you know, um, mannerisms or way to react to certain things, my insecurities, that kind of stuff. She was like, she said she always had hope that I do this kind of work, and that I would change. And she didn't break up with me to do that. She never said anything.
Right.
I asked her, and like, like most people would, like, why are you breaking up with me? You
Right.
know, it was kind of mutual at the time. But you know, what she noticed in me coming back was like clarity, for one thing. Like what I've noticed in myself is once these stuck emotions are gone, and limiting beliefs are kind of more or less out of the way, there's just isn't all this like resonance, discordia, like I'm a musician as well, so I'm using that as maybe a metaphor here. But
Uh-huh.
it felt like when I was triggered by something, like whether it's jealousy or whatever, there'd be a lot of noise, a lot of voices in my head. And since doing this work with Jocelyn, it just feels like there's just one voice now, or maybe like one voice that is weighing options, but it's not all this,
Noise.
hiring noise. Yeah. So she noticed clarity. She noticed like just more calmness. She's a very sensitive person. So she's like, wow, like you're just like, I just feel the difference being around you. It's not your shit isn't triggering my shit, which she had already done work on too. So, you know,
Wow.
now that she's in the other room
Uh-huh.
doing work with Jocelyn right now.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Oh,
Uh,
that's so funny. Wow. Okay. So sounds like the relationship is just so much more pleasant, and like your experience in life is just so much better and easier. That's another sense I'm getting from you. Yeah.
100%. It's
Amazing.
um yeah, I mean, whether it's just like a psychological thing, I don't know what people's beliefs are, and that's how I kind of talk with my friends about this, is like, even if it's like this placebo effect, which I don't believe, but
I
even if
don't either, but if it is, so what? Who's that
it's
hurting?
if it works, what's the problem, right? If you
That
feel
is what I've
light,
always said.
the voices are gone, like,
Yeah.
hey, that's great. You believe that you're a better person, and you got the shit's gone, and
Right.
so that's why
Well,
I'm like, what are people waiting for, right?
what are they waiting for? And I think, and what are men waiting for? And I suppose, you know, what you told me about these men in your support group, ironically, right, kind of tells us a lot about that. I suppose it's the shit men generally have carried collectively for generations, and what is expected of you and how you are expected to behave. And what did the guy say? Hippy dippy shit. I think that's really funny. But I suppose that's likely why so many men wouldn't even have heard of this, let alone considered it.
Mm.
So how, for those people who are maybe skeptical, men and women, I mean, how would you describe the experience? I mean, for anybody, because I'm trying to get into their shoes or my own shoes before I did this work, and think like, what's the fear? What's the concern? First of all, we've already dispelled that it's not the most expensive thing, but what else might the fear be, and how can you dispel these myths? What's the experience been like for you?
You know, I mean, if you had have asked me to do something like this maybe 2 years ago, I probably would have thought, first of all, like, well, I don't really believe in stuff I can't perceive. And I would say, I don't waste my money, you know? And I think that's largely because a lot of men aren't in touch with their feelings. And that could be because our feelings are confusing and we haven't really built the skills to really decipher that the way I think most women have or do. I don't want to generalize too much, but
I think it's
um,
true though.
it's like, the models we have for dealing success, like in a positive way with emotions, usually involve stoicism, like just being stoic and just sucking it up. And there's a lot that reinforces it, like, strong boys don't cry, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that resistance to this, like stuff that can't be perceived, um, well, it can be actually, once you've gone through it and you let go of your stuff, you'll notice the difference, the lightness, right? But um, someone's resistance to it, a man's resistance to it, also how they might be perceived, like, when they tell people, like, you don't have to tell anybody. Like, only thing Jocelyn knew about me was my date of birth, like, or not even maybe how old I was, and my name, and she didn't need to know more than that, really. So I think, like, for someone to feel comfortable trying something new, there could also be, like, if some of the men in my group that I used to be part of, like, suffering from anxiety or depression. It's You kind of get this, like, if the pills didn't work, like, well, how's this going to work kind of mentality. And it's almost too good to be true is
Yeah.
kind of what I keep, hearing from people when I talk to about this stuff, because I see their, like, they associate their beliefs, whether they're atheists or whatever, um, with, like, this modality. But yeah, that's what comes off the top of my head.
Yeah,
And
you hit the nail on the head in terms of, you didn't use the word, but I'm getting the sense that if there's a vulnerability that people think this involves, like, it's, "Oh, I'm going to be stripped bare when I do this work." And not that I'm afraid of that, but I was even pleasantly surprised when I did it. It's so passive, I guess is the word, right? You just have to show up. And as you say, you don't have to give the details. It's not like therapy where you know it's good for you, but you put it off going because, oh, it's exhausting to think about talking about all of that. But all you need to do is sit there passively while Jocelyn brings up these dates and brings down the heart wall, really, is what came down to for me that first time. Made me realize, okay, any bit of wavering skepticism is gone, and I can breathe a sigh of relief, right? Because I didn't
yeah,
have to do anything. I didn't have to share anything. She's not even asking. I'm sure she gets a lot more back from us, right? Like, oh, wow, whoa, yes, at that age, oh my gosh, this happened to me. She's like, I don't really need to know. I'm just clearing the heart wall. So that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you've experienced that too. Um, so yeah, I was going to talk more about the misconceptions, but I think you covered quite a few of them there. The idea that it might be too expensive, which I think is another point people need to consider, at least in Canada, that we do not associate taking care of ourselves with spending money.
Yeah.
Like we'll spend how much on lattes every month, and we'll spend money on going out entertainment, as we should, but we think that somehow it's just wrong to spend any kind of money on our mental health or our psychological or physical well-being. You agree?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. That was a hurdle I also had struggled with, right? Like one of my friends and another man in this men's group, he has been getting into personal coaching. And, as he's getting into it, he was offering like an even a very reasonable rate for myself because I was interested in it. And so the first hurdle was like, am I okay with being vulnerable in this way and really opening up, which was one of the things I got from doing men's work with this group was like just this practice of opening up, being vulnerable and seeing that it's okay, like no matter what it is, being accepted or loved for who I am. But yeah, the next one just being, I'm losing my chain of thought here. We were just talking about
Well, and maybe it's because I keep asking you multiple part questions.
no, I taught a bunch of kids today, so it's like,
Right. Oh, you're doing remarkably well. My gosh. So you were talking about the cost and your friend who had done the personal coaching. Was there more to
invest in
that point?
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can take this take over right now.
That's okay. Great. Take two.
So yeah, investing in myself was something like, especially for like, I think for me, it was outside my comfort zone, how much my friend who was getting into personal coaching was offering me. And even though it was a very reasonable rate, um, I like this idea of investing in myself and my own care beyond just the basics of like, oh, I need drugs because I have this like infection, so I need to go get some antibiotics or whatever. Beyond that, like, yeah, like massage there because it's felt good, right? But
Mm-hmm.
beyond that, like, and even those things I wouldn't go for if it wasn't covered in my benefits at the time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
that's what I mean. It's a mentality, right? It's that's uniquely Canadian too. Well, I guess in the US, they're afraid to spend a lot, anything on themselves, whether it is going to a doctor or anything else. But to me, that should be number one priority. And yet I still have to fight that mentality like, oh, can I afford this? And then I have to, my subconscious is like pushing through saying, can you afford not to? Because you kind of really need it right now. Okay, so yeah, I knew what I wanted to ask you. I'm so happy to hear the relationship news and how that, I mean, what an amazing like side benefit of this work. But let's say you went into this experience with Jocelyn and you were single and you were looking to date. What how do I put this without making it a leading question? Would you want to meet someone who was doing this work as well? Or would you want to meet someone who had not? I mean, at a certain age, we all carry with us a lot of baggage and past relationships. And so what are your thoughts on that? The dating
yeah.
experience.
Well, I know for me, like I went into dating about 10 months ago with like a different mindset. Like I want to find a relationship, someone that inspires me. Not just the, surface level physical attraction. And the part of the inspiration comes from someone who's willing to accept like that we're all imperfect and we're doing our work. And so when I met my fiance, like I was totally embodying that. Like I was like, I want to do my self work. I'm okay with being vulnerable. And I wanted the same. And she wasn't going to settle for anything less either. Um, so I think she's just finishing up with Jocelyn. She might
Oh,
come
that's so funny. Let's
in the
get her
room.
cameo walk on
She's
now.
totally fine with me talking about this stuff.
Okay, cool. Good, good. Well, clearly both of you, believe in the work and see the value in the work. So it's great that
we,
you're
I don't
sharing.
think I don't think anybody should really, well, okay, this is a pretty strong statement. But I mean, if you're dating and you're not doing your self work, you're just like, you're almost condemning yourself to future conflicts, really, because someone's not really seeing who you are and the baggage we're all carrying. this is, in my opinion, doing the work with Jocelyn and doing this modality is one piece of the work, but it's an important piece. It's one a lot of us aren't aware of. And so when you just have that lightness and have that space and you released a lot of crap that accumulated over the years or wasn't even yours to begin with, like it just clears the way for just you to be you without all this other stuff going on. And of course, like there's like if you're a single man, you want to be seen for who you are, and you want to feel like you can show your darker side and continue that work with someone. And of course, like that is the dream that that I think a lot of women are chasing too. Like they're like, where are all the good guys? Well, not necessarily nice guys, because that's a whole other thing, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Uh,
sure. Yeah, so it sounds like what I'm hearing when you're talking is basically when you let go of all this stuff, it's like, I mean, I'm a visual person. I'm imagining there being space, like space in your life for someone else, for the right person, for the right energy, as opposed to that kind of combative kind of, and hey, I've been there. I could talk for hours, but I won't take up too much time. But as far as like, having the same experiences and being weighted down by more of the same garbage, you're lightening the load, as it were, so that you have room for positivity and I don't know,
yeah,
good
it's like a
energy, I guess.
clean slate, and you're
Yeah.
not lugging this weight around, like
Mhm.
like my friends who've done it, myself as well. Like it's just like there's less weight, and so you could take on what you want to with more clarity, including a relationship if that's what you want, and it isn't just like parts of you reacting because you haven't cleared it.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. So much is subconscious. I'm sure you've kind of really come to this conclusion from doing the work with Jocelyn as well.
And because like intuition has been so squashed, I think, in men, or just something they haven't really gotten in touch with. However, whilst women are, I think, generally speaking, very much in touch with their intuition, they could really pick up on a man who hasn't done this or released it, right? And my fiance did. She was like so happy that like you could see the difference in me, and like I still have my shit and I'm working on it, but like it isn't bogged down with all this other stuff, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And so, yeah, it's funny you touched on something that I, as a woman, hear all the time, and yes, may have been guilty of saying myself. Where are all the good guys, right? So I'm interested in this men's support group. I'm sure relationships were a central topic or issue with a lot of them. What were they saying? Take us behind the scenes. You don't have to name names or anything like that, but what was the general consensus about dating, about women, about relationships?
well, I came into the group a year and a half ago. They're called the Samurai Brotherhood, and I definitely like plug them in this because I think that yeah, like it's helped me in a lot of ways. And one of the biggest, what I always came to the meetings with was like, oh, this relationship, and past partners,
Mhm.
my past part, my partner before my fiance. um I was coming to the meeting with like, this relationship is not like what I want, and she didn't even want to be in it really. And so they kept reflecting back to me like, um like your intuition is telling you like this isn't for you. And I had a hard time letting that go. And when I reflect on it before I've done this work with Jocelyn, like, um I was stuck in these cycles of like, oh, I'm not good enough, and I'm not worthy of love. And and so not just this, like the subconscious shifting work that Jocelyn does, but like like all these emotions resonating, that was like, just it was ugly. And when I got out of it finally, like it was like, I was sad and I was lonely, and I still had those subconscious beliefs that were like limiting and not helping me like move on, but I was slowly starting to shift them away, from that. So yeah, like me sharing this in the men's group, sharing my relationship struggles, um, is a actually it's a common thing, right? Love
Yeah,
being the most important topic to most people.
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Men struggle with, I think, this is the similar things, like the single guys in our group too, like they just want to find love and they want to be loved for who they are.
Mhm.
But it comes with doing the work on themselves. This is why they show up, because they want to be the best version of themselves, and being the best version of themselves involves, being vulnerable, digging up the shadow, bringing it out to the light, so then you could let it go. And this modality with Jocelyn is one way in which to do that. And it's part of the bigger picture, because there's a psychological component, there's a lot to
Yeah.
being human. But the emotional part too, the releasing of stuck emotions, the energy work, like, has to happen.
Yes, yes. I think the sooner people realize that, the easier life and relationships will be. And then you guys can talk about other things in the support group. But I mean, I think the fact that they're there and there is this group speaks so highly of its members. So I'm really glad you plugged them, because as you say, this is not how men are generally conditioned. And so I like that we are bringing that. And again, I love how you put that. It's the shadow work, right? Bringing that stuff out into the open. When you shine a light on it, all of a sudden it's not so heavy anymore.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're really being seen, and so, like, when you're having emotions named in the year it happened and so on, like, it's like you're feeling seen. So there is an element of vulnerability with you and the practitioner, in this case Jocelyn. But honestly, like, you don't even need to show. Like, when I first signed up Amandian, it was just all Jocelyn needed was consent. For those most stubborn, I'm like, Dad, like, I was trying to get my dad in this. I'm like, literally, all I need for you to say yes,
Yeah.
and I'll send you an email, and you can read it when you want to or never look at it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the point is, what do you got to lose,
What have
right?
you
Like,
got to
do
lose?
it
It's
for
true.
you.
I know. I love that. Yeah. The same. My dad is very old school, right? And my mother, I gave my mom a session, and he was, I think, within earshot of this Zoom session, and he knows her life. I mean, they've been together for, I don't know, 60 years. And he's listening to this, and he afterwards, he had nothing snarky to say. He had nothing skeptical to say. It was just all, how did she know those years, those ages, those emotions? Like, there's no way. And he kind of shook his head like, this is just something I can't explain. So I guess the next step is I'll get dad in there and life will be better for mom. And she'll owe me one anyway. We'll see, right? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah, we could talk about this forever. Is there something else? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about regarding the sessions with Jocelyn that I haven't covered?
On a personal level, she's got such a great energy. Like, she's very joyful. I felt very much at ease, and she's very enthusiastic about my well-being. And so, like, yeah, it made it really easy for me. Like, you know, it made it easier for me to just kind of be like, okay, like, I trust this person right now to do something I don't really understand and don't know if it'll benefit me. And in the end, it really did. And so I feel like I've got a growing relationship with Jocelyn, because I'm referring people, and my partner is is seeing her right now, and
Yeah.
our kids. And how they just expands, right?
Of course, exactly. They'll tell two friends and so on and so on. Awesome. Well, I'm so happy to hear how well everything's going, and thanks for taking the time. I'll stop recording now and it will announce it. Hold on, stop.